Social Studies Unit 3 Reduction, rated PG by B Kus. The history of colonial America was primarily between Spain, England, and France to gain control over North America and all the natural resource riches available. All three came to America for different reasons, and their governments took different approaches to colonization. The Spanish got here first and dominated the country for most of the 1500s. They wanted gold, glory, and God, in that order. They found lots of gold and silver and it made them greedy. The conquistadors didn't care who got in their way and were cruel to the natives and conquered the Aztecs. They didn't care about developing settlements or a domestic economy. They just wanted to export money. Colonies were governed by crown-appointed governors. Settlers had to obey the king's laws and could make none of their own. Settlers were restricted to being Catholic. After the English defeated the Spanish Armada in 1588, England began directing its resources toward establishing colonies. They had many reasons for going to America. There was a lack of economic opportunity in England. It forced many to seek fortune elsewhere. Stories of the Spanish getting rich with gold lured them to America. Many others left to escape religious persecution. The English colonies were closer to the coast. They built farms and traded with the natives. They were more interested in developing the land in colonies than the French and the Spanish. The English settlements were mainly non-Catholics, although some tolerance was practiced in most colonies. The French were mainly interested in fur trading. They also set up trading posts and, like others, were in search of the Northwest Passage. The French king was in charge of the colonies. There was no representative government. The French, unlike the Spanish, were kind to the natives. But French settlers nearly stripped the new land of its beaver pellet. Although the French government encouraged farming efforts, the fur trade proved to be more profitable. The plantations that were established failed. Colonial life was largely controlled by the French Catholic clergy. There were different types of colonies that existed in the British Empire. Charter colonies were promoted through charters from the Crown. Generally, they were established by groups of settlers who were granted charters by the king. A chartered company was formed by investors for the purpose of trade, exploration, and colonization. The charter set out the terms under which the company could trade. Royal colonies were ruled more directly by the British. in a joint stock venture. Stock was sold to investors who provided money. King James I in 1606 granted a charter to the Virginia Company. It was a joint stock company created to establish settlements in the New World. This is a seal of the Virginia Company, which established the first English settlement in Jamestown, Virginia, in 1607. As you can see, most of the people came to the New World to settle and acquire natural resources. A natural resource is a material that comes from the earth and in its natural state is of value. North America had many different natural resources, namely gold, silver, timber, fish, fur, corn, cotton, and tobacco, to name just a few. The original reason explorers came to America was to find a northwest passage. The Northwest Passage was sought after by explorers to find a direct water route through North America to make trade with Asia easier. Explorers searched for a river system leading from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. It never existed, but many explorers found interesting things while looking for it. John White traveled with the first English expedition to Roanoke Island. He returned to England for supplies. When he returned, there was no sign of the settlers, including his granddaughter he left behind. The only thing he found was a CRO carved in a tree and the word Croton. There are many theories behind the disappearance of the lost colony of Roanoke. Jamestown was the first permanent English settlement in North America. The Virginia Company of London financed an expedition with 100 colonists. The London Company told the colonists it would be rich in gold. They endured terrible hardships and had little food or water because they were searching for gold and the climate was hard. But after the first harsh winter, John Smith took control and developed a working farming colony. But then John Rolfe saved the day and developed a high-grade tobacco that the colonists learned to grow. It was very popular in England. This helped the colony grow and prosper. More laborers were needed, and more people came to Jamestown. Tobacco saved Virginia and would shape its development for the next several centuries. In London, the joke was that Virginia was built on smoke. When the demand rose, Virginians stopped searching for gold and began growing tobacco everywhere, even in the streets of Jamestown. Tobacco was just an example of a cash crop. A cash crop was any crop grown by a farmer for profit instead of personal use. Corn is another example of a cash crop. Virginia would develop its first plantation system without black slaves. Land was cheap and plentiful. Labor was scarce. But to get rich, you needed both land and labor. This is how slavery first came about on the plantations. To make Virginia more attractive to settlers, a generous system of land grants was established and an elected legislature was created called the House of Burgesses. This was the first representative assembly in the New World. It is the basis for our government today. The Pilgrims were a group that rejected the Church of England, sailed to America, and founded the Plymouth Colony in 1620. They were also called separatists. They left England to escape the harsh treatment from King James. It was the Virginia Company that arranged for them to travel and settle in America. The Puritans were a group from England that settled in the Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1630. They sought to reform or purify the practices of the Church of England, but were trying to escape the bad treatment by King James I. Unlike the Pilgrims, they wanted to reform England's practices. Mayflower Compact was an agreement established by the men who sailed to America on the Mayflower, which called for laws for the good of the colony. It helped establish the idea self-government and majority rule. The first Thanksgiving was in 1621. A group of English colonists and their Native American neighbors celebrated a successful beginning to a new colony by sitting down and enjoying a feast together. I hope you have enjoyed this brief production. Meow.